As the surge in murders in the Israeli Arab sector passed 150, Prime Minister Netanyahu convened a subcommittee dedicated to fighting the problem. Later, the Israeli leader assigned the Shin Bet to get involved in cases that involved murdered Arab local political figures. More from ILTV's Steve Leibovich.
The dramatic increase in murders in the Arab sector in Israel has become a plague of homicides. Netanyahu convened the forum created to fight the problem. Following the meeting, Netanyahu announced that the Shin Bet, Israel's security agency, would be joining the fight against the criminal organizations in the Arab community, but only in relation to local elections. This week, one of the murdered men was a city manager and another was a mayoral candidate and former border police officer. Over 150 people have been murdered in the Arab sector since the start of the year. After hours of deliberations, it was reported that Netanyahu chastised the head of the Arab Authorities Committee, Moder Yunus, at the meeting for his refusal to admit that criminal organizations were behind the recent crimes. Netanyahu said the killing of city official Ahmed Rahman Kashua crossed a red line.
הרצח של מנכ"ל עיריית טירה זה חציית קו אדום. הרציחות האלה, ארגוני הפשע, הפרוטקשן, הניסיון להשתלט על עיריות, זה דבר שאנחנו לא יכולים להרשות לעצמנו. אנחנו נפעיל את כל האמצעים, כולל השב"כ, כולל המשטרה, כל האמצעים, כדי לנצח את הפשיעה הזאת. חיסלנו את הפשיעה המאורגנת בחברה היהודית בישראל, אנחנו נחסל את הפשיעה המאורגנת בחברה הערבית בישראל. כל אזרחי ישראל חייבים לחיות בביטחון ולא תחת צל איום הטרור הפנימי.
Hundreds attended the funeral of Kashua, a murdered community leader, voicing anger at what they say is an Israeli government failure to curb a surge in criminal violence ripping through their communities. Kashua was a 55-year-old municipal director of Tira in central Israel and father of 5, who has been dubbed the martyr of reform. His murder remains unresolved.
Experience the power of truth with ILTV News. If you're looking for quality content and captivating visuals, join our news community and become an integral part of our team as we embark on a mission to unveil the real Israel, dismantling the web of lies and misinformation that surround reporting on Israel. By subscribing to ILTV News, you will not only have access to the latest updates, but you will also amplify our message, creating a ripple effect that carries the truth far and wide. Subscribe today and help reshape the narrative. Available on the web, Android, and Apple.
We're continuing to elaborate on the violence in the Arab community and surge in murders with Professor of Law and Criminal Justice, also Director of the Institute of Criminology at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, Professor Badi Assisi. Badi, great having you here today. Now, tell me, what factors do you believe have contributed to the dramatic increase in murders within the Arab sector in Israel, turning it into what it's being referred to as a plague of homicides? Where are the local officials?
Yeah, I think it's a complicated factors that brought us to this, to the high numbers of homicide. Well, it's I guess if we try to rank the factors, we will start that in order to deal with violence, you need a strong state, and you need a strong police. And it's not unique that minority groups have high rates of criminal activity. This is frequent around the world. But we know that in order to deal with this high rates, you need to be very effective, very efficient. And I think so far it's been done too late, too small, I think, with the dosage. And as we saw from a small episode for about 1 year, that the state of Israel mobilized a lot of resources in order to deal with this problem. Under the previous government, under Sigalovich, as a deputy at the Ministry of Interior Security, we saw some signs of improvement, some signs that showed that it's possible. It's not like something that you cannot deal with. So this is a main factor that we should take into consideration. Of course, after stating or also addressing the high rates of criminal activity within the Arab community, and the fact that low governability is the structure, deviant behavior, and criminal activity. So the more the state is stronger, the more we have culture, law and order, we will have less violence and less crime, serious crime.
Barin, is the involvement of the Shin Bet to fight these crimes effective in your eyes? What do you have to say about the timing also?
Well, I think now we are in a state that any help and any mobilizing of resources would be appreciated. So I think the Shin Bet is also complicated involvement, since its unique mission is to thwart terror activity. And here in our case, we have to be aware of this complexity when you deal with democratic society and bringing people to justice. However, saying that, I think the Shin Bet could become very helpful by the main problem that now facing in the Arab community, the seizing of firearms. This is the big issue, that now it's very easy to get a firearm in the Arab society, and conflict that used to be, it could ended with some punching and physical, minor physical injuries, now are ending with mortality, with homicide cases. So this should be first and foremost the main mission, to try to seize. The other thing that we should be aware is what we call the high policing capabilities. And in that sense, the Israeli police are well trained to tackle organized crime. If you recall the case of 512 case, so the Israeli National Police are able to mobilize and to deal with the organized crime, but also in this case, help of other agencies, the Shabak and maybe other agencies as well, are much appreciated in order to tackle the organized crime structure, the seizing of firearms. I think those are main heavy issues that I think that both the national police and other local agencies are not able to deal with.
Badi, hopefully the government and the police will start putting a lot of work into the Arab community and the violence there. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The settlement movement, with the support of Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, has presented a plan to increase the Jewish population of Judea and Samaria to 1 million by the year 2050. And ILTV's William Sharon has the details.
The plan for 1 million Jews in Judea and Samaria includes the establishments of new cities, expansion of existing settlements, an airport, hospital, and industrial zones, and it's designed to provide solutions to overcrowding in the center of the country. Planned cities would be built in northern part of Samaria. One would be named Tanakh, meaning Bible, and includes 30,000 residents. Plans for the city of Shamir, named after former Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, would have the population of 100,000. The plan, devised by Samaria Council head Yossi Dagan, was presented by Smotrich to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. A group of engineers, architects, and other professionals have been working on the plan for the past year, after the founding principles were discussed with top settlement leaders. The new plan comes amid tensions with the U.S. over settlement policy, and it is unclear if or when it would be approved by the government, but Smotrich is trying to fast-track cabinet approval. Meanwhile, Defense Minister Gallant and top IDF brass met with settlement leaders to try to smooth over differences over handling the current Palestinian terror wave. IDF Central Command Major General Yehuda Fuchs, who has been a regular verbal punching bag for some religious Zionist Party lawmakers, was present for the talks. Gallant told the settlement leaders that the IDF was increasing efforts to locate and seize illegal Palestinian weapons in the territories. Gallant also committed to strengthening the settlement enterprise and present the Defense Ministry's latest efforts to widen roads to reduce traffic in dangerous areas, as well as constructing bypass roads in hotspots. But local leaders worry whether these solutions will arrive in time to prevent the next attack.